Hello everyone, welcome back to another great episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Today we are making my hometown dish, East African dish. This is called either a kibibi or a vibibi. I've heard them say either or. These are just plain gluten-free pancakes basically that is made from rice and coconut milk, and these are delicious. So if you want to know how to make this, let's go ahead, review all the ingredients. But before we do so, if you've subscribed, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. For those that are new on my channel, I really hope you enjoy spending time with me in the kitchen. And please don't forget to subscribe. If you like this video, hit the like button. There's also a notification button right next to the subscribe button. Hit that so that you don't miss any new uploads. So let's get started. These we're gonna be using some amount of olive oil on the frying pan. Here I have 2 cups of rice that I have washed and I had soaked overnight. I always like to soak these overnight. Here I have 2.5 cups of coconut milk. And what I've done is I've warmed it up just a little bit because I really want to speed up the process for it to start proofing for us. Here I have 1 tablespoon of yeast, which is rapid yeast, instant yeast, 1/2 cup of sugar. Now we're going to start off with 1/2 cup. If you guys feel that you want to add more, go ahead and do so. I'll start with 1/2 cup. I'll give it a taste test and then see if we need any more. I'll put more in. 2 tablespoons of white flour, and I've got here 1/2 teaspoon of fresh cardamom that I have ground, and blend all these ingredients. So I'm gonna add about 3/4 of our coconut milk in here. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to get the yeast to start proofing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the yeast in here into the coconut milk, and then I'll add about a tablespoon of sugar in here too. So that's the food for the yeast, and so it starts fermenting right away. Like I want it to start proofing right away. All right, just want to mix this together. We're going to keep it aside while we start blending all the other stuff. And once it starts having these bubbles on there, that means that it's ready. So now let's put in the rice. Okay, let's add the rest of the sugar, the flour, and the cardamom. And now what we'll do is we're gonna start blending this together. I can still have like lots of pieces in there, so that means it's got a long way to go. So more blending until it's pretty much got very little bits of rice. You see how you see this froth on top? That means that we have started the process. So now what we'll do is we'll put it into the blender. All right, now I blended this for a while. I gave it a taste test. Actually, Sakina gave it a taste test because I can't taste anything sweet. I feel like it's too sweet. But it needed about 1/4 of a cup more of the sugar. So now the total sugar is 3/4 cup. So we'll close it. We'll just blend everything together, and then I'll show you the consistency when I start pouring it in the container. So you always want to give it a try by taking your finger and feeling it, and I felt it, and it felt pretty good. Now, if you wanted these to last even longer where they're soft, you can go ahead and sieve the mixture so that it's going to catch all the thicker grains of the rice that have not been completely blended. All right, so this is the consistency, but it should get a little bit more thicker when it starts proofing. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that all that sugar and yeast mixture is in there. Empty all of that in there. What we'll do is we're gonna let this rise, and I'm really happy because you can see the bubbles. That means that it won't take long, probably take half an hour, and we're gonna have the batter ready to start making our fritters. On the stove to about a medium. I'll show you the batter. I just want this to get a little bit heated before we put it in. You don't need very much oil. This is enough. All right, so look at the batter. See how it has doubled in size and it's really nicely fermented, like really puffed up. So that's perfect. Just gonna mix this a little bit. Okay. Once this heats up just a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna bring it over and add enough to where it goes completely to the sides, just like that. Okay, put it back on. Now, you can make them thin or you could make them just the way I did. I like the way that I do them just because I feel like they're not very flat, they're not very thin, and they're not very thick either. So what we want to do now is you see how it's starting to form bubbles. We're gonna cover it. We're gonna let it cook on medium. And this, by covering it, one, you're gonna help puff it up even more. And the other thing is also you're gonna see a gazillion little bubbles in there. That means that it's cooking up really, really well. So now you just wanna wait just a little bit. If you come back, I'll show you. You see how you're seeing more bubbles over there? I don't see the sides very brown. So I'm gonna cover that back up again. It's just like when you do a pancake. Just like when you do a pancake, you just gotta wait a little bit until it sets a little bit. This is a great gluten-free snack for those that are looking for gluten-free, but this is a very big no-no for those that have diabetes. One is because of the sugar that we put in there, and two, it's because of the rice. Okay. So how we turned it around, I don't need to cover it up anymore. We're just gonna keep on doing this until, I'll do one more for you guys to watch. You just wanna keep on doing these until we get them all done. And I'll tell you in the end exactly how many these made. I think this is a 6-inch frying pan that I'm using. You can also make the bigger ones. And then what we'll do is, how about we make one that's really, really thin so you guys can see the difference between like a thicker version and a thinner one. So. Okay. You just want to wait until it gets, see how it's gotten that little brown? Can you see that skin? It's got a little brown in there. That's perfect. So now we're just going to take that off the stove because it's completely cooked. All right. A little bit more oil. And this one's going to be thinner than what we did before. I just want you to know how many variations you can do from this. So just that you have it in your mind. I'm gonna cover it again. This is gonna cook up really fast because this is the very thin version. I think the one we made is a medium, and then let's do a thicker version as well. For those that feel that video is getting too long, you guys can go ahead and forward it. But I want to get this bases covered for those that have never made this before. And I also want to show you that the variations really help so that you can decide, you know, what are you going to serve it with. Sometimes you can serve it with like a coconut curry and you want them medium. Sometimes you want to have them in the morning and you want them thick. Sometimes you just want them as a how a crepe looks. And you could do that. Those are great at picnics when you can have it with tea and stuff. So you see how this one got done very quickly. Just check the bottom. Yep, nice and brown. I'm gonna turn it around. Let this cook up for just a little bit. Look on the bottom again, we've got a nice brown. So take that out. I always do that and then end up switching it back. All right, a little bit of more oil in here. Our pan is really nice and hot at this point. Now let me do 1, 2, 3, 4. gonna cover it, let that cook for a while. Now you see how we have dry up here? That means that this is done. I'm gonna turn that around. We're gonna cook the other side, and then let's go ahead and look at all three of them after I have all of them done, so it'll give you an idea of how you want to make these. So any way you make them, they're completely okay. I have a version of the kitumbwas that is also an East African dish. I have that. I'll put up a card on the left so you can watch that video. I have the Makati Sinia video. Now that's pretty old video, and I promise I'll make a newer version of that video soon, but I'll also put a card of that up there also that you can see, so at least you know that those are there. So let me finish all these. When I come back, I'll show you, I'll tell you how many came out, and we'll go through the thickness of each of them after. So we got about 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. You're gonna get between 10 to 12, because remember how we did this one medium, this one really thin, and then this is the thicker one. So when we get into the really thin one, you'll see it's not gonna have much texture in it. See that? It's not gonna have much texture. When we get into the medium one, now we're getting a little bit more texture in. You see that? It's gonna have a little bit more compared to the one that's really thin. All right, now let's get into this one. All right, this one now, look at how much texture this one has. So even if I were to cut it by hand, you can see that, you know, there's more texture in this one. So it really depends how, I mean, you know, what you're making it for, how you want to make it. There's no wrong way of making it. Any which way you make it is perfectly fine. So now this, I'm going to give it a try, although I said that this is not a good thing for diabetics. This has rice and sugar in it. It's going to skyrocket your sugar, so stay away. My sugar right now is pretty good. I'm holding at 115, 114, so that's pretty good. I'm not gonna go all out and have a whole one. No, I'm just going to take the thinnest one. I'm going to take a little bite off of this, and I'm going to let you know how this tastes. All right, this is delicious. But I find it too sweet because my taste buds have already changed, so I don't eat much sweet. So the best thing about this is that you've got the crisp on the sides and on the bottom, and then the inside is really nice and soft. This is super delicious. No matter, even if you want to serve it just like this, you can do so. Now, I've heard that some people, this is an East African dish, but I've heard some people make a syrup out of coconut milk, and they put sugar in it. They melt it down a little bit, and then they pour it over, and then they have it. We've never had it that way, but if you wanted to, you could try it. Let me know down in the comment section if you would like to try that, if you did, how it tasted. Also, let me know in the comment section below if you make these. I would love to hear from you. Also, just remember that whenever you make something like this, you can always tag me on my Facebook at Raihanascuisines, or there's a page on there, or you could tag me at Raihanascuisines on Instagram. So I would love to see what you guys are all doing in the kitchen. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Raihanascuisines. Hope you can join me here next time with another great video. See you then, friends.